FANO, the youth, is an ethno-nationalist Amhara youth militia and former protest movement. FANO first emerged in the 2010s and during the 2016 to 2018 state of emergency as a protest movement against the former Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EBStv, government. Although FANO is hailed for being instrumental in bringing about the fall of the EBStv through both nonviolent and violent struggles, their current status and organizational structure are unclear. The territorial integrity of the ethnic Amhara homeland has been a key issue for FANO. Protests led by FANO in 2017 to 2018 were often centered around the issue of Western Tigray and the ethnic Amhara who lived there. As the purported protectors of Amhara society, the FANO have engaged in violent conflicts throughout the state in the name of neutralizing perceived threats to the Amhara people and, by extension, Amhara nationalism. FANO has become aligned with and, in many instances, absorbed the Amhara Regional Special Forces. FANO militias are primarily involved in armed clashes with the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, and the Ethiopian National Defense Force, ENDF. They have also clashed with the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, at the border of Ethiopia and Sudan. When interviewed, FANO members declare themselves as protectors of Ethiopia, demonstrating the rhetoric that Amhara nationalism is Ethiopianism, a clear contrast to Kiru movements in Oromia that simply advocate for the Oromo ethnic group. One stated objective of FANO leadership as of March 2020 was for Benishangul Gumuz region's medical zone, the northern districts of Welkut and Raya in Tigray, as well as the southern district of Dara to be placed under the control of the Amhara region. During the Tigray War, FANO supported federal and Amhara regional forces against rebels aligned to the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF. History. The concept of FANO can be traced back to the Zemene Mesafint, early modern Ethiopia's equivalent of the Warring States period, where the weakening of the authority of the emperor in Gondar led opportunistic local warriors and regional lords to rebel against the central government in order to gain political and fiscal power. These rebels were referred to by another Amharic word, Shifta, that has since been loaned into other languages. However, it was during the Second Italo-Ethiopian War that the anti-fascist Arbanok, who were mainly centered in the ethnically Amhara regions of Gondar, Gajajam, and Shua, 7 helped popularize the term FANO. Afterwards, the term would gain even more cultural significance as the name of a song by popular A's Mary Casa Tessima, and the 1960s protest song FANO Tismara, O Guerrilla, Rise to Arms. FANO and its Oromo equivalent, Kiru, rose to prominence in the 2010s as they mobilized against the repression under the TPLF-dominated government, which had dominated Ethiopian politics from 1991 to 2018 through a one-party system. The alliance between Amhara region officials and Kiru played a crucial role in bringing about the political and administrative changes associated with the premiership of Abiy Ahmed, during which the TPLF lost control of federal political power and the Prosperity Party emerged. Perception. FANO is perceived by different media and human rights groups as either a protest group or a militia. The Organization for World Peace described FANO in October 2020 as an Amhara vigilante youth group that saw itself as providing law and order that government was unable to provide. FANO has attained popularity among Amhara people for their mobilization against the TPLF invasion of Amhara region, as well as their efforts to advance Amhara interests and protect Amhara civilians in other regions. Amhara militias are often described by opposition groups with the term Neftenya, which is generally seen as derogatory. Structure and leadership. As of April 23, 2020, the leader of FANO was Mesafint Tesfa, according to the news agency Borkena. Borkena has described FANO as a loosely organized youth organization. Post-2018 armed conflicts and accusations of massacres. 2019. 10-11 January 2019. During the days leading to January 10, 2019, local militia and administrative officials supported by an Amhara youth vigilante group that Amnesty International started building trenches and preparing to attack Kement people in Medema. From 1500 hours on January 10, 2019 to 1300 hours on January 11, 58 Kemet people were killed in the massacre in Mekele using guns, grenades, stones, and by burning houses. Amnesty stated that a unit of the Amhara Police Special Force wore insignia. The Ethiopian National Defense Force, ENDF, in Mekele initially refused to intervene on the grounds that they didn't have orders to do so. The massacre terminated when the ENDF intervened on the afternoon of January 11. On September 29, 2019, FANO killed and burnt 4 members of a family in Azizo in revenge for the killing of an Amhara youth. A cycle of vengeance attacks continued for several days. FANO went home to home attacking Kemet residents. On March 19, 2020, clashes including gunfire took place between youths and regional security forces, supported by federal security forces, in Gondar and Dabat in the Amhara region. The youths were FANO according to Andafta media. Prosperity Party authorities in Amhara said that the youths were not related to FANO but pursuing their own interests in the name of FANO. On March 28, 2020, FANO chairperson at the time, Solomon Atana, stated that the attacks were started by the regional and federal security forces, including the use of heavy artillery. Atana said that death threats against FANO members had been made by telephone to FANO survivors of the clashes. Gondar city officials stated that FANO had killed and kidnapped people, confiscated property, freed prisoners, and stolen weapons from police stations, and called on the group to disarm and surrender immediately. Atana said that FANO would not disarm until demands about the return of land were met. Atana said that FANO had contributed to peace by preventing an anti-government attack by Kemet extremists. On April 23, 2020, local state media reported that FANO leader Mesafint had reached an agreement with government authorities after the government worried that the residents might spread to the areas of the Amhara region. November 2020, FANO backed the ENDF and Amhara regional forces in the Tigray War, which began on November 4, 2020 when TPLF-aligned forces attacked the ENDF Northern Command headquarters in what TPLF spokesman Getachew Reda called a preemptive operation. TPLF were implicated in the Mekele massacre by Tigrayan refugees. Residents of Mekele disagreed, according to investigations by Amnesty International, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, EHRC, and the Ethiopian Human Rights Council, ERCO, instead attributing the massacre to Tigrayan youths mainly from the Samri Kabili in Mekele, supported by Tigray Special Forces and militia. According to the EHRC Okra Tigray investigation, these Tigrayan groups killed hundreds of Amhara civilians in Mekele on 9-10 November 2020, then in the subsequent days at least 5 Tigrayans in that town were killed by FANO members in retaliation. During the Tigray War in November 2020, a 54-year-old refugee interviewed by The Guardian, Gushtila from Humera, stated that he was beaten by federal security forces until he was covered in blood and could not walk, and then transferred him to a FANO group, who eventually allowed him to leave. Tila stated that the FANO were ordered to destroy Humera and finish Tigrayans. Tila said that he witnessed a man beheaded with machetes whilst gesturing a knife to his neck. Other refugees showed wounds that they attributed to knife and machete attacks by FANO. May 2022. On May 19, 2022, clashes broke out between regional and federal government forces and FANO in the town of Mota when government forces attempted to disarm and arrest FANO members. Later that day, as locals gathered in protest against the arrests, federal and regional forces fired into the crowd, killing an unspecified number of individuals. On May 23, 2022, local state media reported that over 4,500 people were arrested in the Amhara region. Amhara regional authorities aligned with the Prosperity Party said that they were not targeting FANO but individuals who had committed illegal acts in the name of FANO. Many residents of the region disagreed. In a statement released by the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, EHRC, in response to the crackdown, EHRC Director Daniel Bekele called on federal and regional security forces to refrain from arresting suspects before criminal investigations are held, arresting journalists for their work, and detaining people without a court order. On August 1, 2023, FANO clashed with ENDF in the context of war on Amhara. Fighting occurred in Debre and Kobo in the first day. On August 2, FANO seized Lalibela. On state television EBC, ENDF spokesperson Colonel Getnet warned that the military would take measure if FANO continued disturbing the country's peace. As a response to the escalation of security issues in Amhara region, the government declared state of emergency on August 4, imposing ban to public gathering and make arrests without warrants as well as imposing curfew.